came all the way here. For me?
Yes, I needed to tell you the truth. I love you.
You love me?
Yes.
With what exactly? Empty pockets?
I have more than money. No, you have nothing. I can become...
You will never become the man I need.
What kind of man returns to the very village that laughed at his poverty, only to kneel beside the woman who once called him worthless? The first time he stood at her father's gate, his slippers were cracked, his shirt had been washed so many times the collar had given up, and sweat ran down his neck like shame. The second time he came, a convoy followed behind him. But the story did not begin with cars. It began with dust. Dust on his feet, dust on his mother's wrapper, dust rising from the dry path that led from the farm to the market. In the village of Mwaka, everybody knew him as the boy who walked like 3 men and still ate like half of one. At dawn, while others were still turning on their mats, he was already in the cassava field, cutlass flashing in the pale morning light. By sunrise, he would have tied vegetables in bunches, balanced a basket on his head, and started the long walk to the roadside market. He was poor in every way the eyes could measure. But if poverty had a way of bending men, it had not bent him. He still greeted elders with both hands. He still shared roasted corn with children who had less than he did. He still carried old women's loads without waiting for thanks. Even when hunger sat in his stomach like a stone, he laughed easily. Even when his mother coughed through the night, he spoke hope in the morning. And maybe that was why his heart was foolish enough to love her. She was everything he was not. She stepped out of polished cars while he walked barefoot in the rainy season. She wore perfume that announced her before she spoke. Her father owned half the biggest stores in the village square, and all the surrounding farmlands was owning. Their compound had a painted fence, iron gates, tiled floors, and a generator that hummed proudly every evening when darkness swallowed the village. She had grown up hearing one lesson repeated like prayer: never go down when life can take you up. Beauty is wasted in poverty, her mother always told her while arranging gold bangles on her wrist. A woman must marry comfort. Love does not buy land. Love does not fill a pot. Love does not stop mockery. She believed it. And when many young men admired her, she learned to inspect them the way traders inspect goats in the market. Their sandals, their speech, their family name, their future earning power. Some men came with motorcycles, some with promises, some with swagger. She smiled only at the ones who looked expensive. But he had loved her long before she became the kind of woman who measured hearts with money. He remembered when they were children and she had almost fallen into the stream during the rainy season. He had grabbed her wrist, muddied his own clothes to keep hers clean. She had looked at him then with fear and gratitude. And for one small moment, they had simply been 2 children under one sky. He never forgot that look. So, he made the mistake poor men in love often make. He thought memory meant possibility. He prepared for that day as if he were going to war. He scrubbed his only good shirt until his fingers wrinkled. He polished his old sandals with palm oil. He borrowed a little perfume from his friend, though it smelled too sharp and made his nose itch. On the path to her father's compound, his heartbeat was so loud it sounded like drums in his ears. By the time he reached the gate, his courage was already trying to leave him. The gateman looked him over once and almost laughed. "What are you doing here?" "I came to see her." The man's eyes narrowed. "For what?" He swallowed. "Please, just tell her I'm here." The gateman did not move. He leaned on the gate, enjoying the moment too much. People like you don't just ask to see people like her. He should have left then. Maybe if he had turned back, he would have spared himself the wound that was follow him to the city and back. But love makes stubborn people of humble men. So, he stood there under the afternoon sun while servants passing through the compound slowed down to stare. He stood there as whispers spread. He stood there until she finally came out. She wore white, not the kind of white that village girls wore to church and struggled to keep clean. This one looked soft, expensive, untouched by dust. Gold flashed at her ears. Her slippers clicked against the tiled entrance. Behind her, 2 housemaids hovered like shadows, already smiling because they sensed entertainment. She stopped several feet away from him. Her face held no warmth. She said, "What is it?" His mouth went dry. He had rehearsed it all on the road. He had planned to speak calmly, respectfully, confidently. But now every word seemed to scatter like frightened birds. I came because I need to tell you something." "Say it." The whole compound was listening. He saw it. He knew it. Yet something in him pushed forward. I love you." It came out raw, bare, defenseless. For one breath, nobody moved. Then he continued, because there was no dignity left to protect. "I know I am not rich. I know I do not have what other men have, but I am hardworking. I am honest. I will do everything in my power to build a good life. I may be poor now, but I will not remain like this forever. Just give me a chance." She stared at him. Then she laughed. Not a surprised laugh, not an embarrassed laugh, a cruel one, the kind that gathers people around it. The maid burst out immediately. The gate man slapped his thigh. Even the cook at the open kitchen window turned away, covering her mouth. And the sound of their laughter struck him harder than hunger ever had. She took one step closer, her eyes bright with contempt. She said loudly, You want me?" The servant laughed again. He felt heat rise to his face. "I said what is in my heart," he replied, his voice shaking now. "And your heart is poor, just like your pocket." He froze. She did not stop humiliating him. She said, "What exactly do you think you can offer me? A mud house, firewood smoke, a life of carrying water on my head? Am I one of those desperate girls who marry suffering because a poor man speaks sweet words?" Each sentence landed with deadly precision. He wanted the ground to split open and bury him. But she was not done humiliating him. Then she delivered the blow that would chase him all the way to Lagos. "Listen carefully. You will never be the kind of man I can kneel beside. Never. Even in your dreams, know your level." Silence fell after that. Sharp, final. His lips parted, but nothing came out. He turned and walked away while their laughter followed him to the road. That evening, the village swallowed the story whole. By sunset, women were repeating it at the stream. By nightfall, men were shaking their heads over palm wine. Children who understood nothing still sensed drama and ran around chanting that the poor farm boy had been chased from the rich man's gate. He did not eat that night. He sat outside the small hut he shared with his mother and sisters and stared into darkness until the stars blurred. His mother asked what was wrong, but he shook his head. He could not tell her. He could not force those words into the same air she breathed. Inside him, something had broken. But something else had been born. Around midnight, while the village slept and crickets sang from the bushes, he stood up, clenched his fists, and made a vow so quietly that only heaven heard it. He would leave. He would build a life too strong for mockery. He would rise so high that no one would ever again speak to him as though poverty were a stain on his soul. Not for revenge. At least that is what he told himself. Before sunrise, he went to see the oldest man in the village, a weathered elder who sat every morning beneath an odara tree, chewing bitter cola and watching the world like a man who had seen too much to be easily surprised. The old man looked up once and understood immediately that this was not a casual visit. "You have been crying inside," he said. The young man lowered his eyes. "I want to leave for Lagos." The old man nodded slowly, as if he had been expecting those exact words. Because of shame? He hesitated. Because of what shame revealed? The old man studied him for a long moment. The city can sharpen a man or swallow him. I am ready for both." "No," the elder said quietly. "Nobody is ready for both, but some survive anyway." The young man sat on the bare earth, hands clasped tight between his knees. "I cannot stay here. Every path remembers, every face knows. If I remain, I will rot in the same story they have written for me." The old man spat to the side and leaned back against the tree trunk. "And if you leave, what story will you write?" The answer came without effort, one they cannot laugh at. The other's eyes narrowed. That answer has pride in it. He fell silent. After a while, the old man spoke again. "Listen to me carefully. The day pain becomes your only fuel, you may travel far, but you will not travel well. Live if you must, rise if you can, but do not let the people who wounded you become the architects of your soul." The words entered him, though not all of them settled. The old man reached into his wrapper and brought out his small folded note. It was not much, just enough for transport and maybe one meal if spent carefully. "Take it." He stared. "I can't." "You can, because one day you will help someone else and understand that dignity is not lost by receiving. It is lost by refusing to rise." By noon, he had told his mother. She cried the way only mothers cry when life has already taken too much and still stretches a hand for more. Lying on a raffia mat, her body thin from years of illness, she held his wrist with surprising strength. "Lagos is far. I know. Big cities eat good boys. I won't let it eat me." She looked into his face as if trying to memorize the child still hiding in the man. "Promise me one thing. Anything. When you become something, do not become wicked." The words pierced him deeper than the insult at the gate. He knelt and pressed his forehead to her hand. "I promise." His sisters cried openly when he packed. There was almost nothing to pack. 2 shirts, 1 pair of trousers, a Bible with loose pages, and a faded photograph of the family taken years ago by a traveling photographer. He tied them in a small bag, slung it over his shoulder, and left before dawn the next day. No procession followed him. No one stood at the road to wave him off. Only his mother, leaning weakly against the doorway, and his 2 sisters, clutching each other in silence. He walked until the village became a memory behind him. Then the bus came. A coughed black smoke rattled like it was angry to still be alive and carried him towards a city he had only heard about in stories told by men who returned at Christmas wearing sunglasses and accents they had not been born with. Lagos hit him like a slap. Noise first, then heat, then movement from all directions at once. Motorcycles cutting through traffic, conductors shouting until their voices cracked, hawkers balancing impossible loads on their heads, men in suits, men in slippers, women with babies tied to their backs waving through buses like people who had long ago made peace with danger. He stood at the motor park with his small bag and understood with a fear that made his stomach turn that nobody in this city cared if he lived well or disappeared badly. He had one address scribbled on paper, the name of a distant relation's friend's cousin in Ajigure. By evening, he found the place. It was not a room. It was a box with walls. 6 men already lived there. Sweat lived there too. So did mosquitoes, damp clothes, quarrels, and the smell of drains outside. He was given a corner of the floor, just enough space to stretch one leg fully if the man beside him slept curled up. That first night, hunger and exhaustion fought sleep inside him. He had someone snoring, someone muttering in a dream, someone scratching a rash. Outside, music blared from a beer parlor. Somewhere nearby, a woman cursed a man with creative commitment. He stared into darkness and heard her voice again. "You will never be that man." His jaw tightened. By morning, he had already started looking for work. The first site rejected him. The second said they needed experience. The third asked for a bribe before employment. He merely laughed at that one, a poor man diving for the chance to become less poor. On the 4th day, under brutal stun, he reached a construction site where men were unloading cement from a truck. He watched their rhythm for a moment, then approached the supervisor, a thick-necked man with impatience stamped permanently on his forehead. "I need work." The supervisor barely looked up. "Everybody needs work. I can carry, I can lift, I can learn." The man glanced at his hands, calloused with farm tools. "Have you done this before?" "No." "Then why should I take you?" He held the supervisor's stare. "Because I will outwork the ones who have." Something in the answer made the man pause. Maybe boldness, maybe desperation, maybe destiny in dirty clothes. The supervisor jerked his chin toward the truck. "Carry that bag." The cement bag was heavier than pride. He bent, lifted, staggered, corrected himself, and forced his legs to move. Each step felt like punishment. Fine dust rose into his nose and throat. His shoulders screamed. By the time he dropped it where instructed, his spine felt split in two. The supervisor watched his face carefully, waiting for complaints. None came. Another one. He carried that too. And another, and another. By the 6th, his arms were trembling. By the 10th, his vision had started to blur around the edges, but he kept moving, sweat soaking his shirt until it clung to him like a second skin. At last, the supervisor grunted. "Start tomorrow, 6 a.m. Late ones, don't come back." That night, he ate a plate of rice so fast it hurt his chest. Then he lay on the floor of the cramped room and smiled for the first time since leaving the village. It was a small victory, but small victories are dangerous. They teach a desperate man to believe. Days became weeks, weeks became months. His body changed first. The village softness burned out of him. His shoulders widened, his palms hardened further, his steps became steadier beneath weight. He learned how to mix concrete, count blocks by eye, judge men quickly, avoid cheats, stretch money, and ignore insults that did not deserve residence in the heart. He walked before everybody. He arrived before time. He walked through lunch when others disappeared to smoke or gossip. At night, while some laborers spent their pay on gin and women, he wrapped his money in nylon and hid it inside his pillow. Every month, something small went home. Sometimes it was just enough for medicine, sometimes school sandals for one sister, sometimes rice and dried fish. Every time his mother's message came through a neighbor's phone, her voice sounded lighter. But Lagos was not done testing him. One evening, rain fell so hard that the site shut down early. He took shelter beneath a half-finished concrete stairwell as workers cursed the weather and argued over football. A black SUV pulled up through the mud. A man stepped out under an umbrella held by another. Everything about him announced power without noise. Not loud wealth, controlled wealth. He wore a simple, expensive wristwatch and shoes that never should have been near mud. He spoke briefly with the engineer, then began inspecting the site himself with the kind of eyes that noticed everything. When he passed the stairwell, he stopped. The young laborer had not joined the others in idle talk. He was crouched beside a torn cement bag, trying to cover exposed materials before the rain ruined them. The businessman watched for a moment, then asked the site engineer, "Who is that one?" The engineer shrugged. "Just one of the laborers." "Just?" The engineer sensed the rebuke as straightened immediately. "He is new, but hardworking." The businessman kept watching. Rainwater ran from his hair into his eyes. His shirt was plastered to his skin. His hands moved quickly, urgently, protecting materials that were not even his. A few minutes later, the businessman called out, "You there?" He sprang up at once and hurried over, muddy and breathless. "Yes, sir." "What is your name?" he answered. The businessman held his gaze. "Why are you covering cement in rain when the rain is not your father's problem?" He hesitated, unsure if it was a trick question. Then he said, "Because waste is loss, and somebody will pay for that loss." A slow smile touched the older man's face. Most men would have given a clever answer. That one gave a useful answer. The businessman nodded once, then got back into the SUV and drove away. The laborer stood in the rain, confused. He did not know that one sentence had just changed the direction of his life. and that before the next moon was full, the city would open a door he had not even known existed.